Welcome to episode 14 of 100 Years of Marine Corps Tankers, a station dedicated to honoring the legacy of Marine tankers and remembering the stories of what made the community special, told through the words of those Marines that towed the line. This episode is a very special one as I am joined by a Marine who has exemplified honor, courage, and commitment for over 21 years and has set the standard at every rank that he has served from recruit to major. Major Anthony Gantt, welcome to the channel, my friend.
Hey, thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. Hey, let's take a minute and go back before 1999. What made you want to become a Marine?
Montgomery GI Bill. I was going to school in Tallahassee, Florida. First semester, I did pretty well. Second semester, I learned I had to buy books and couldn't afford them. So I had a friend who said, "Hey, you should go be a National Guard," and I ended up becoming a Marine reservist because I thought that was the National Guard.
Semper Fi. So in that process, you went to East Coast, so you're a Paris Island Marine, and then obviously went to MCT. And then after MCT, we went to Knox, where you attained the MOS of 1812. What were your early impressions of tanks in the community?
I loved it. As soon as I got to Fort Knox, I was actually a MAT Marine because our boot camp graduated in 2000. So we got there right after the other class started. It was cold and wintry, but it was a good environment, good Marines that were going through the tank school at the time. So, I was excited about getting on the hog. And once I did, I was in love with that thing.
And then after tank school, you, like you said, you spent a little over a year with Charlie 8th Tanks as a reservist, and quickly came to learn that it was not the National Guard, but rather you loved tanks so much that you wanted to go active, and then you made the choice to go active duty, which brought you to 2nd Tank Battalion, and that's kind of where our paths crossed. While at 2nd Tank Battalion, working through the billets of driver, loader, gunner, and then ultimately deploying as a tank commander in one of the most influential operations of our modern day tank history, Operation Phantom Fury, and subsequent operations. What were the leadership lessons you learned during this deployment?
So what I learned as far as leadership goes during the deployments was take care of you guys. And then one of the most, it's two things that really stuck with me beyond that. At the time it was Gunny Gerard and later Master Sergeant Gerard. He was a mechanic. And I remember we pulled into the ramp and we were fucking tired. And I was like, I'll do it tomorrow. Cause the mechanics come over like, hey, we got to do this. We got to do that. And he's just like, man, I am beat. And then Gunny came over. It's like, if not today, when? You never know when you have time to do something. And I didn't understand it at that time, but it bit me in the butt later on when we went up to Haditha Dam and we got some Constantino wire spooled in our road wheel. Don't know how, but we did. And I was like, we'll come back in the morning. We just been driving for hours and hours on the road. We'll fix it first thing in the morning. First thing in the morning never came because we had to do a mission. But Lieutenant Klingensmith cursed me out. Him and Gunny Eastep cursed me out because we didn't get the Constantino off. But that made me feel bad because they had to go out as 3 tanks instead of 4. So that taught me a lesson. Like, you never know when you have to be prepared to go out the wire or just to do anything in life. So now, regardless of how tired I am, if not now, then when, it always stuck with me from a mechanic at that. Gunny knew what the hell he was talking about. So ever since then, I've tried my best never to let anything wait until tomorrow because you don't know when you're going to have the opportunity to do it. The other thing that stuck with me, that was really critical, was knowing what your limitations are. I was young, 25-year-old tank commander, and I was like, let's go, right? But there came a point to where, like, even the Hercules in me and all of us has to get some rest, has to, hydrate, has to, take care of yourself. And I was glad that I learned that there. Unfortunately, I didn't have any issues, but it taught me a lot about myself, a lot of introspection. It was like, if I can't take care of me, how do I take care of my crewmen? And I love those guys, my gunner, loader, and driver, and all of those individuals. And just seeing how tired I was at 1 or 2 times in the deployment was like, okay, I got to do a better job at taking care of me, so I can do a better job at taking care of them.
So the previous interview with Master Guns Herbert, he praised your praise as a young tank commander. Let's talk about Operation Phantom Fury for a moment. One of the things that he brought out in his interview was just how much ammunition, how much logistical support, and and really how much fighting you guys all did. But let's go back to that time period for a moment. And 25 years old, tank commander. Obviously love the MOS. Like you said, you learn how to take care of yourself. But what was that environment like? What was going through your day, your mind on a daily basis during that fight?
I was fortunate for the leadership I had, starting with Colonel then Captain Myers, like I said, Lieutenant Klingesmith, Gunny Esep. They told us from the very beginning, we have to take care of the grunts, right? Which you know what we call them, crunchies. So we got to take care of the grunts. And that resonated with me. And that meant no matter, and that's what led to me not taking care of myself with the whole tired and whatnot. Cause I was like, we got to stay up, cause these guys are kicking indoors, going into houses. So whatever we can do to bring attention away from them, that's what we did. So I knew we were in a big metal protected armor, like freaking N1A1 ain't nothing like it. So I was like, we're gonna do what we can, and we're gonna do everything we can to go into the city. So being inside the city for me, it was surreal, but at the same time, it was all real. And anytime we got an opportunity to kill an enemy, we did so as fast as we could with like straight urgency because we knew behind us it was AVs, LARs, LAVs. I'm sorry, infantry and Humvees and all. And this was during the light skinned, no up armored days, right? So everybody was just getting banged out with those RPGs, rocket propelled grenades, as well as the explosives that were set up around the city. So everything that we did, it was like we have to destroy as many of them as fast as we can before everyone behind us comes in the city.
You personally, as a tank commander, what was your workup prior to that deployment? How much preparation did you have going into that?
Uh, we did a lot of work up. We didn't think we were going in. We were replacing first tanks, and they were taking off their tanks and made into an infravisional rifle unit. So we thought we were going in the same way where we would be kicking indoors, where we would have to do convoys and route clearing and everything like that. So we did a lot of M9 training. We did a lot of shotgun training. We did call for fire, both for indirect and direct aviation calls. We did a lot. We did a lot. Like I said, I was very fortunate to have the company that I had between, like you said, Top Herbert, as well, Master Guns, I should say, as well as First Sergeant Young, who was a tanker, Gunny Estep, Gunny Daniels, Gunny Dixon, Edwards. We just had a phenomenal team. Alpha Company was stacked to the brim. And everybody that went out there, we were jumping off 7 tons back in the day. Man, that was brutal on the knees. We were doing humps and hikes to the gas chamber and then PTing back from it. So we were over prepared for what we were going into. And then in addition to that, we also still were doing our gunneries. One thing that I found unique about one of the gunners we did prior to that, we went beyond table, I can't remember now, was it table 8?
Mm-hmm.
Where you do the qualification. Then we went to like another table after that. I think it's like
Table
9 or
12, 8 to
12.
12. Yep.
Yeah, we did that, and I was like, "Oh, this is amazing!" Or like, and then we did a CAX. This is back then when you had CAX, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not no little IT. What do they call it now?
EMV, ITX, and then
Flash
MTX.
fire
Yeah.
for 3 days and call it a quicks. Like I'm like, you guys don't have it like we had it. We were going for 60 days. You get your 30 days, take that 96, and then you come back and go support another unit. So we got it in. We were trained. Yeah, let's talk more about Phantom. And that was
Okay.
well, Phantom, and then we ended up having to go to Abu Ghraib prison after that whole army debacle where they were mistreating POWs.
Mm-hmm.
So our platoon got to protect them, and that was crazy. And then we got to do elections after that. That was surreal because here I am, a black guy in the military, where I know people fought for my freedoms in our home country. Now I'm in another country fighting for people's freedoms to be able to vote. So to me, that was a very memorable moment. My crew, we just looked back at it because I had a very diverse crew. It was me, Diaz, who was a Dominican, Afro Dominican, Afro Latina, I should say. Walls was a Native American slash white guy. Then we got Howe, he's Mexican and white. So we were like we called ourselves the minority crew. And every time King Smith told us to do something, it was like, oh, he trying to kill us off again.
All right.
But we were the three take, so we
Yeah.
wasn't taking it like you the three take. You got to do all the bad stuff. We were just like, damn it, he always messing with us minorities. But it was out of good. It's what tankers do, talk trash.
Operation Phantom Fury, obviously it is what it is. Like I said, tremendous kinetic environment, tremendous fighting, but that wasn't the only interesting aspect of that deployment for you, was it? After Phantom Fury, what other operations did you end up doing, or with your company and your tank crew in particular?
Oh, absolutely. So we got the call that the Army tanks were having to move out of Abu Ghraib prison and go back to Baghdad, and our platoon was going to replace the other platoon that was there. So we ended up going over to Abu Ghraib prison right after that debacle, where the Army soldiers were mistreating the POWs. And as soon as we got in there, they contested us. They didn't know we were straight out of Fallujah. And we ended that real quick. So I guess there was a difference from how Army tankers interacted and how Marine tankers interacted. We pulled the trigger, they didn't. So a lot of stuff got real calm every time we came out the wire, and I think that was a testament to us being battle hardened from being in the city and not taking anything for granted. Because again, we were protecting the infantrymen and that base. What was unique about it was while we were there, that's the first time they were holding the elections for the Iraqi country. And it was surreal for me and my crew because during that time frame, I got to sit back and say, hey guys, we're the inner corridor. We're like the closest thing. We're the last line of protection to this election post. So nothing's getting by. We had the 50 cal. Mardus was ready to like put people down. Then we had our 240s, as you know. We was like, we're going to spend as much ammunition as we can if anybody contests this election. That's how our mindset was inside that tank. And the reason being is here I am, a black guy in another country fighting for the liberties and freedoms for someone to vote. And that just resonated with me because I know in my country, somebody, along with other people in my ancestors, had to fight for my freedoms and the ability to vote. So I took it really serious, and it was a very sundering moment, as well as one of those moments that you'll never forget in your life. And it's just something that stuck with me. Then later on, we went to Haditha, hit, and did all these different things, and worked with a lot of great Marines, different allies in that country, and I just learned a lot. We did a lot of really unique missions, a lot of operations that I had no clue would be historical. I just knew I was out there, and the legacy of Marines is like you get shit done, and we were out there to get shit done.
Did you have the foresight and the appreciation at the time, or is it something that you kind of acquired afterwards as far as the elections go?
Oh no! At the time, I had great appreciation for it. Inside
Mhm.
my thing, we even talked about it. Offline when we were talking, I said you had me as the tank commander. My loader was my gunner was an Afro Latina. My loader was a Mexican mixed guy, and then my driver was Native American and white. So we were a very diverse crew, and a lot of us had you know backgrounds that were unique to our countries and its history. So we felt very like what we were doing was the right thing to do, and where we were was where we were supposed to be in history.
No, that connection there is really powerful. Um, so then coming back from that deployment, April 2010, you attained commissioning of second lieutenant. What were the steps did you follow through, and why did you pursue your commissioning?
Gunny ESEP, he was like, "Hey, dude, I don't know if you ever met ESEP, but hey, dude,
Absolutely.
you need to go to fucking school. All right, get the fuck out of here." And I was like, I'm going to I just finished MCMAP MAI course. And I was like, all right, here's the progression. MAI, Sergeant's course, Mike off, then I'm gonna go to MAIT, right? I'm gonna be Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, then I'm gonna go drill field. I had it all lined up.
Mhm.
But E-Step put me to the side, hey dude, you need to fucking go to school. Like he's like fucking punch you and whoop your ass. You're gonna go to school. And if anybody listening to this, they know ESEP, they know I'm 100% accurate
Yep.
on somebody who's gonna whoop your ass. So I was like, Roger that, Gunnery
He
Sergeant.
would have too.
I would have. He doesn't want none of this. Me and him used to go in the quad kind of mess around with each other. I used to mess him up, but he still was gunny, so I respected him. He's gonna laugh at that.
Right.
No, I respected him. That was like him, Gunny Daniels, Gunny Thomas, Popes, all those guys, William Becker, Pitsley. Those were like my uncles and my daddies, right? Gunny is
Mhm.
E-Step is attested to being my daddy because we had the relationship the longest. But I looked up to all of those guys, and I hold them high, Herbert and all those different guys. And so, anytime they recommended that I do something, I did it with a lot of tenacity, and I put in my MESUP package. You know, I got accepted, and like they say, it was history ever since.
No, it's funny because all those names that you just named are the same folks that I look up to and the same folks that I rely on. Even till today, I'll call any one of them up and say, hey, I need something, or what do you think of this? And it's very funny. You and I spent our time at Second Tanks together, although in separate companies. However, our influential leaders at the time were very much the same. So I absolutely appreciate what you're saying. So, like I said, April 2010, through MESEP commissioned. How do you think being a tanker assisted you in these endeavors?
Resiliency, tanks. We experience it all, right? Everybody think you have an AC inside of the tank. So when you're in 29 Palms, everyone thinks that you're just in that box, freaking like just living the life, but they don't know if it's 115 outside, it's 130 inside, and you just persevering through all of that suck. And if it's 30 degrees outside, it's 20 degrees in the inside. You might have the heater if it works. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
100 times out of 100 it doesn't. So you just you just endure. If it's raining, you get rained on. You have to deal with the tracks that when you roll the tracks through and you muddy everything up and break the earth apart and walking through that. So all of that life that sucked was all of that what made me better, because after a while, the suck just becomes a part of life, and you just like, whatever, man, I'm just going to endure it. And you're with 15 other people in that platoon, and then the rest of the Marines in the company, where you make this tight bond. And I don't know if you feel like I do, but the tank community is like a little mafia family, right? Like you get real close to that family, so you protect each other. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it just helped me be very resilient. It made me very confident. Some of my peers might have called it arrogant. I just was a tanker, so I was like, whatever, dude.
Yep.
Um, tankers, we're a different breed. Like we just do things right.
Like you said, we can bustle on each other all day long, but God help somebody that says something about a tanker that's not already a tanker. God help
Exactly.
them. No, that's a great point. As an officer, you attained the MOS of Air Support Officer and held numerous billets, focusing on air support and employment of supporting arms and MACTAF operations. You did have a very unique situation occur during your Afghanistan deployment in 2012. And I think it's fair to say that you are probably one of the only controllers to call a troops in contact on yourself when Bastion got attacked. What lessons from being a tanker did you carry with you on this duty, in particular in this situation?
Right. So it's crazy because I was going into the COC where I had my position, and I just see some incoming and then a huge explosion. Get to the gate, talk to Blackwater, like, hey guys, it looked like we're getting attacked. Are you hearing anything? And it's Blackwater, so it's like, no, we haven't heard anything. Get into the COC and start sitting down, and next thing you know, the world is freaking going crazy. And when I took control of the radios and everything and started talking to the JTACs that were on the ground and the aviation, the helos, there was a mixed section of Cobra and Huey. Were flying around, launched a Apache from the British, and was just talking to them over the net. And the JTAC on the ground was like, I can't see anything. I don't have the ability to do anything. And I was just like, Roger that. I just need you to stay to the west of this line, and stay to the south of that northern. And it just started clicking. Like all of that training I talked about earlier that we did in our workups prior to going to Iraq as the tankers and whatnot, it just all came back. And now it's just like, hey, you do this, you do that. Hey, I need a US over here. I need feeds on here, and do this and do that. But it was kind of depressing because in my MOS, they haven't gotten to the point to where they allow controllers to be JTACs. So I couldn't do a type 2 or type 3 like you learn about in TBS, but I was like, I know I can do this damn type 2, type 3. So I was like, hey, I went through the entire 9 line. I went through the entire progressions. And at the end, I was like, hey, I'm not a JTAC qualified. So if you feel threatened, I recommend that you engage. And, you tell that to some Hueys and Cobras, they always threaten, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you saw Earth scream, like you just saw God letting the heavens go and just, and you can see the insurgents on the camera doing what they're trying to do. and brought him back around for another pass. And I was like, hey, I think your 7.62 might not have captured him. You think you can put some 50 cal on him? And then my deuce just started coming out, and again, the heavens opened up. It was just a beautiful sight for me. Maybe not the insurgents on the ground, but I think it was all of that training that we did prior to going to Iraq within Alpha Company. It just, I mean, it was, I can't even describe how it just came back to me. And most people are like, oh, TBS was great. And I was like, I kind of knew this before TBS, right?
Mhm.
So I give it a testament to the leaders that I had that made sure we were trained up and just ingrained the importance of being able to do our job at a moment's notice.
Currently, you're serving as the Marine Officer Instructor for the Naval Reserve Officer Training Corps. You are representing the community very well, my friend. And obviously, this channel has a message, and it's one that's focused on not only honoring our legacy, but also to inspire future generations that are currently faced with making some tough and bold decisions regarding their futures. And this is, of course, in post the divestment of armor in the Marine Corps. This, even though you've been away from tanks for a little bit, you still consider yourself a tanker and always will. Same with myself. And for today's generation that's making these choices, what message do you have to help them deal, with the divestment of armor and their future choices?
Yeah, that's a great question. You never stop being a tanker. Even to this day, people will say, well, "Hey, what are you in the Marine Corps?" I go, "I'm a tanker." They're like, "Oh, you're a tank officer?" I'm like, "Oh, okay. You mean what am I for as an officer MOS?" And I'll
Mhm.
say, I'm an air support control officer. But in my heart, in my gut, everything that I know, everything I do, I'm a tanker. And what that means is a different kind of culture that was built out of tank school and the different communities on the East Coast, West Coast, or within the reserve units that creates the mentality of a tanker. The way we walk, the way we talk, how we hold our chest up high. We know what it's like to change a sprocket, right? That takes some, torching bars and all that. So you gained a lot of resiliency. You learned how to be persevering. You learned how to work as a team because those four people have to count on each other a lot. I think sometimes you get closer with the people in your tank than you do with your actually family members, because you're living and breathing and just communicating with each other on a continual basis when you're in the field on a deployment like no other. So all of that to say, take what you've learned and use it in different approaches to life, whether that's academically, because that's what got me through school. Again, remember I go back to Gurney Sergeant Gerard's, hey, like if not now, when that helped me study, right? When I was like, I got the test and I'll study later. I was like, no, if not now, when? So I stuck it out and I studied. It got me through TBS when I was hurting and I was like, I don't know if I want to write this order, and you know how it is. You're getting ready for that next specs, that field exercise, and you're like, okay, I got to write this order and just get it done. So that is something that I learned from tanks. And then treating people with kindness and mutual respect, like we talked about earlier. Uh, Ain't no rank behind the tank. Regardless of your rank at MOS, I've seen captains and lieutenants go to blow, gunnies and master sergeants, lance corporals and sergeants, right? That to me is where you create respect amongst people because it's like, hey, when we lose that line of respect, we're gonna go over here, we're gonna address it like adults do, like men do. And
Mhm.
that taught me to go into life and like always respect someone else. And the moment they disrespect you, they better be ready to take that ain't no rank behind the tank, which is funny because I learned that doesn't work too well outside of tanks, especially
Got no tank to go to.
in
Ain't
the
no right behind the computer.
yeah, yeah. They was like, whoa, 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 what are you doing? What are you doing? This is not the division. Uh, that was second Lieutenant Gantt had to jack another lieutenant up for walking through my formation. He didn't understand that's a no. But it's things that you learn. See, it's because of tanks, like the things you learn to be proud of, right? I was proud of my formation. I was proud of the man I served with. I was proud to say I'm a tanker. Hell, if you would have called me 2 days ago, you would have seen I had my Fort Knox shirt on that no, Fort Benning shirt that ESEP sent to me. Um, um, I got a water bottle that says First Tanks. Never served in First Tanks, right? But I love First Tanks just like I love Second Tanks, just like I love Fourth and Eighth and all the other companies that were in the Marine Corps and battalions. So I think Marines now who held that MOS in 1812 or 1802 should understand what you learn will be with you forever. And I think Brad Pitt said it best in the movie Fury, the best job I ever had. So take that forward to whatever NW do and whatever you're going to go after, and just use that same ferocity and that same tenacity to get the job done.
So, in your current job, obviously you're busy, but as if that's not enough, I know that you have a civilian career going on. What are you doing on the civilian side?
On the civilian side, I'm trying to prepare myself for retirement. I'm looking to get out. I was given the opportunity to go take an amazing job as a Marine commanding officer of a recruiting station. However, if I would have taken that, I would have had to do it as a geo bachelor. My wife and kids said they can't move anymore. The stress is too much for them. They just want to, they just want to, they want to chill. So I was
Mhm.
like, all right, you guys been following me around the globe, literally. I guess it's my time to go ahead and follow you all and stay put. So I submitted my paperwork for retirement. And as I'm doing that, I'm starting a company. It's called At Ease Rentals, which is a platform that's going to serve military personnel on PCS, permanent change of station, or temporary duty travel, where they can book alternative accommodations like apartment, houses, condos, whenever they go for official travel, and make sure that they get reimbursed. So I just want to continue to serve those who serve, and I learned that's my life passion. That's why I stuck around so long, regardless of any injuries or any kind of like difficult points I've experienced in the Marine Corps. It's because I always got the opportunity to serve others.
That's fantastic, man. I absolutely applaud your efforts and wish you the absolute best. Thank you to the audience and to those who have already subscribed. If you have not done so, please subscribe. The subscriptions are really what gives this channel its leverage and its influence. Thank you for all that have come on. Thank you, Anthony, for coming on here and doing the interview. I know you're super busy and with school and everything. So thank you. I appreciate that. Good luck to you and your what do you call them? Cadets, or are they mids? What are they?
He's a midshipman and a couple of me steps. So thank
Okay.
you for having me on. Uh, it's a great opportunity. Love being a tanker. Like I said, I will be a tanker until they put me 6 feet under the ground or cremate me. Hey, best job I ever had.
I agree, man. Best job I ever had. Please remember to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications of new episodes. And with that, my friend, we'll be signing off.
Yeah, yes.
Hurrah. We're back on. Um, as we were going through this, we were talking about some of your pictures you sent me. These stories are way too good not to tell. So let's uh, let's talk about this one in particular. So what are we looking at here?
All right, so this is my tank, and we just come out of Fallujah. Outside is Diaz. That's our mechanic who's inside the tank talking to walls. And you can see that the bustle rack is messed up. We're missing the fender. We got all this concrete on the top of our tank. And we noticed when we were going in with the grunts and they were clearing different houses that they were getting booby trapped, whether it was a grenade tied to the door or some kind of bomb that was on the door. So when they kick it in, the first couple of guys are going and an explosion would go off. So, they was taking some casualties. And I was like, hey guys, I can put a hole in the side of the house. Either I can shoot a hole or we can just ram that sucker and you guys can have a different point of entry. And I was like, hell yeah. So this is what happens when you have a corporal TC and corporal platoons squad leaders, right? The E4s and E5s get together and we come up with great ideas. So they were getting ready to go clear a house. We'll either turn the gun over to the side. In this case, we turn it over to the back deck. And I was like, all right, driver, rev that fucker up. And we revved the engine. And I was like, hey, it's just like you walking track. So he had it revved up, and I was like, all right, let it go. And we just plummeted through the freaking building, knocked half of the house over, and then backed out quickly because we were afraid if they had a basement, we'd be screwed. So after we freaking make that hole pull out, a lot of the wall and the structure still be on top of the tank and it just come with it. But it made a great way for the infantry guys to go inside and breach the house without having to worry of taking any casualties. So after we did it the first time, I think by this picture, we went through at least 7 to 10 houses in an 8-hour period. and that's what came. That was the aftermath of it. Like we was just like fuck it, and the staff sergeant, I can't remember his last name right now, but he came back and he was like, "What the fuck did you do to the tank?" Ah! And I was like, "Staff sergeant, we're saving lives." Oh man, he was cussing me out. And he was like, "These fucking tankers, god damn it, they get on my nerves." And I was like, whatever, man. You're not in the city, so you don't know what we see. And they got us some new fenders. We fixed the bus rack. I hate to say it, but we did this a couple more times. But we didn't care. After a while, we saw how many people we're saving, and it just became business. And it was just an testament to adapting and being creative to get the job done and save lives for those on our side of the fight. So that was a good picture right there. I don't know who took it, but man, I'm glad they did. So this is when we were working up. We were getting ready to go. This is going from training as a provisional rifle company to getting back into the tank. And the guy to the left, Slew, was my gunner. Diaz was on Gunny's tank, so they were getting ready to tow us out. So it was me, Slew, and Hal. We were coming from somewhere, and we got the call that we had to go back somewhere. This is in Camp Lejeune, by the way. And Slew had driven all through the initial invasion for Iraq in 2003. So Slew was like, "I'm the best driver in the company." And he was like, "If we need to get back to out driving," was like, "Roger that, Slew." So Slew jumps in, and this is a young TC me, right? And I'm laughing, but man, did we get in trouble. Uh, so Slew is driving, and we were freaking blazing down Camp Lejeune, those back trails, and you see those woodpecker trees, so you know what kind of trouble I got into. Uh, and we're coming around one of the turns, and it's off of what's that road all the way to the close to the river? Is that the 72 or 172, 171? I can't remember now. It's the long road that goes out there by Courthouse Bay and whatnot. So you know those back tank trails. And we're coming around the curve. And I'm like, Slew, slow down, slow down. Slew's like, no, I'm gonna drag it. I'm gonna drag it. This is one, him driving too much in Iraq, and two, him being Jamaican. And he just didn't put the throttle back on in time to keep to that straightaway. So we slid, and was like, hell yeah. Oh! And we slid off in the ditch, took a couple of trees out of us, may have had woodpecker signs on them, may have not. I don't remember. But man, did we get in trouble. And then I had to go across the radio with my bride and I'm like, "Hey, yeah, can you come get us out the ditch?" So this is Diaz coming with the the tow cable, and Slew with the tow cable. And be laughing. Gunny is cursing us out, but I think he turned his back. So it's another Marine, probably a Lance Corporal, somebody that took a quick picture with like a Polaroid, one of the disposable cameras. We got a quick picture and then we got back to work. This one was at the tail end of Fallujah, um, where we had gone through the entire city. And this is where it was like, hey, this is like the culminating moment. Not really because we had to go back through the city, but this was like the end of it all. And there was another objective that had to be cleared, and infantry was, you could see all the holes in the rooftop. That wasn't from them going out. It was a couple from it coming in with our rocket propelled grenades and small on fires and everything else that was coming at them. So, they was like, hey, tanks, just come up and take care of business. So we pushed in, and we just, as you can see, that's the main gun going off. It's one tank in the picture, but to the right of this picture, there's another tank. And I think it was probably our entire platoon, to where I think either we had fire at will, or we got on them line and did a volley, where the whole platoon shot a couple of rounds of between high anti-tank explosive rounds, and I want to say we might have used some impact as well. Those are our two rounds of choice during during that entire operation. The one with East. So that mess night, that's when we just got back from Iraq with our company. Entire platoon. This is probably a 29 Palms CAC. So that was the last time Alpha Company was together before splitting off and going to our different. And this one was a small little city right outside of Fallujah, and we had to stay out here. It was small, but they kept getting mortared and RPG. And I don't remember why we were out there, but we were doing all kind of raids. I mean, we were supporting every platoon, every section, and every squad. And Gunny went to take a nap in between operations, and he kept talking trash to us. So I came up and took a picture with him because he was sleeping. We finally caught him sleeping. So they're like, "Go take a picture with him. Go take a picture with him."
How about this one in North Carolina?
That was in combat town where we were doing workups for our second deployment. That was when Lieutenant Lacalzi and all those guys before they passed away on the second deployment were out there with us. We were doing workups. I actually didn't get to deploy with them because I got selected to meet Marine Enlisted Commission Education Program. But that was the last time I was in the field on a hog.
Is this you?
No, that's Lou Magana. That was the last picture we took of him. We actually got hit by an RPG rocket propelled grenade. It was a Chinese variant that was an anti-tank head on it. Penetrated the side of the tank through a couple of our skirts. And when it did so, it came in, hit the fuel cell of the heater, which caused secondary explosions. He ended up taking shrapnel in his right lower leg, and we had to do a crew evac. So a lot of those drills that we practiced were surreal because we did the crew evac just like we did on the ramparts in Lejeune, to where we had to do the same thing: pop the chair out, pull them by his flak, and get them out. While all the while we're still getting shot at by guys with 7.62 RPGs and whatnot. Funny story. I took Slew's M9 from him when he was waving it around while I was on the top of the tank giving him first aid, and started shooting his M9 at the guy with a 7.62. So I put 15 rounds down range. I probably didn't hit anything, but it was enough to get him to run around the corner. And then Hal jumped on the 240 and was like, I said, Hal, anything that comes around that corner, you kill it. That's Diaz. I took Diaz from Gunny's tank because once Slew got injured, we had to do combat replacements. He was a Lance Corporal that became gunner, battlefield gunner. The dude was amazing too. I mean, the guy can see a enemy target, lays it, and freaking put rounds on target like you wouldn't believe. We had some young guys that stepped up quick. A lot of our Marines in our platoon had just come from tank school, got dumped into our training, and went in Iraq less than a year from tank school. And all of those guys were battle hardened by the time they finished. So that's a testament to the Marine Corps and how well they do training in all of our schoolhouses, and the importance of doing our job when Marines get to be put in a situation they show up.